Okay, today we're going to talk about, we're going to have a discussion about democracy. We're going to talk about President Trump leaking classified information to the Russians. And we're going to talk about Josh Whedon's Planned Parenthood video. And we're going to talk about cultural appropriation.
This is the Chase Carson Show.
Alright, here it is. This is going to be the greatest show we've ever done.
Really?
Yeah.
Episode 2 is the greatest
Well,
show ever?
No, hold on.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Okay,
Okay.
you screwed up the first joke, Carson.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's right. Never mind. It's okay. The first thing we're going to talk about is cultural appropriation. And this article from Huffington Post.
Okay.
Should white chefs sell burritos? The reason I want to talk about this today is because I just ate a burrito for lunch made by a white person.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself?
Oh, how was it? Was it good?
It was delicious. Definitely feeling it now.
Mm.
But, no, it was absolutely delicious. Let me read this for you here. If my computer doesn't stop. Here we go. Portland, Oregon has become the epicenter in a growing movement to call out white people who profit off culinary ideas and dishes swiped from other cultures. In the days since 2 white women were shamed into shutting down their pop-up burrito cart after telling a reporter they had picked the brains of every tortilla lady in Puerto Nuevo, Mexico, Portland has become all but fed up with cultural appropriation within its city limits. One writer has stated flat out that Portland has an appropriation problem.
I don't understand anymore. It's just too much. Like, when does it... There's the people who are yelling, it's like, you need to accept their culture and love it and enjoy it and be a part of it. And the other people are like, no, you can't be a part of it.
No.
Yeah.
They're the same people.
Okay.
There's not 2 groups of people.
Right. They're just saying
There's
the same,
one group of people
saying two
completely different things, and yet categorizing all of them, as the same sort of idea of you not being racist. It's racist to not appreciate other cultures, and it's racist to appreciate other cultures. Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And then they go right around and, saying that white people shouldn't make burritos, that's pretty racist. That would be like the definition of racism.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just, ugh.
Right. So only white people should drive cars.
That's really pretty messed up, Chase. You can't just say that, okay?
Well, I'm just saying that that's exactly the conclusion you draw when you use their logic.
When you say, white people can't make burritos because they're not part of their culture.
White people can't make burritos because a white person didn't invent the burrito, because burritos aren't part of white culture, then only white people can drive cars because a white person invented the car.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah. It was a white person that invented the assembly line that built those cars. So, like modern manufacturing.
No. Only white people can produce cars.
Only white people can produce cars.
Yeah, that's not.
And then only only
profit.
white people can produce cars and profit off of them?
Yes.
What about if someone uses a car to run a business?
Yeah, well then they're profiting.
What if you
off of
use
that.
the car to?
What if you're a delivery service?
What if you're a taxi driver? In New York.
Whoa.
A lot of them aren't white.
That?
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying it's so frustrating that the first thing that we do as a culture is look at it from a skin color.
Why is it always about race?
Why is it always about race? Why can't it just be 2 people selling burritos? Why does it have to be there's 2 white people selling Mexican burritos? How horrible is that? It's so messed up.
Right.
It's just, yeah.
Let me keep reading here. Because of Portland's underlying racism.
Underlying racism. Okay.
In Portland, the people who rightfully own these traditions and cultures that exist are already treated poorly. These appropriating businesses are erasing and exploiting their already marginalized identities for the purpose of profit and praise. Because you know what's super marginalized in America? Burritos. Burritos are marginalized in America.
I don't think so. Not last I checked.
Someone in the City of Roses has even created a Google Doc listing the white-owned restaurants that have appropriated cuisines outside their own culture. For each entry, the document suggests alternative restaurants owned by people of color.
Oh my goodness. That's so messed up. It's just so messed up.
Right, exactly. You shouldn't go to this restaurant that sells burritos because it's owned by white people. You should only go to this one that sells burritos made by Mexicans.
Yeah, because...
Now maybe...
Now listen, they're probably better.
Maybe
they're probably
the burritos are better
and
if they're made by Mexicans. It's possible. But you as a consumer should be able to make that choice.
Well, yeah. And you shouldn't get yelled at for being racist, for going somewhere.
Here's the next one part that's quite funny. One appropriative business is Voodoo Donut.
Voodoo Donut?
The small donut chain accused of profiting off of a religion that combines African, Catholic, and Native American traditions.
African?
So wrap your head around this one. Are you ready for this?
No, probably not.
Are you ready for this? Voodoo Donut is racist because it appropriates voodoo people. People who practice voodoo.
Okay.
What is voodoo? Voodoo is cultural appropriation against Africans and Catholics and Native Americans. Right?
Okay.
Right?
That's
they
what
just
they're
said
saying?
one appropriative business is Voodoo Donut, the small donut chain accused of profiting off a religion.
Right.
Right? So they're profiting off voodoo, which exists because of cultural appropriation.
Right.
But that's not a problem, apparently. I mean, doesn't voodoo deserve to be appropriated if it was birthed from appropriation?
It doesn't. Nothing makes sense. Like with that, you can't understand that logically. Like that's what I couldn't imagine writing something like that. That's what I could never understand. Turning that in and being like, what'd you write about? Oh, I wrote about how white people shouldn't make burritos. That's what I wrote about today for my job. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And then that is seen as news in our culture. That's just, it's horrible.
Well, it's Huffington Post.
Right.
So,
Well, some people view it as news.
we might be digging from the bottom of the barrel here. I don't know.
Well,
Should we move on to the next thing here?
sure.
This is much less funny.
Yeah.
This is a video, Josh Whedon, who did Marvel stuff, didn't he? Didn't he direct?
Yeah, Josh Whedon. I don't know exactly what ones he directed, but I think he was big in the Avengers, and I think he helps produce a lot of them continually, and he was a big part of the TV show as well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., okay.
Yeah.
Which was really good.
That was pretty good. Had its strong points.
It had its, well, like most TV shows, the first season was awesome.
Exactly, yeah. And then
But anyway, he made this video just on his own YouTube channel, right?
yeah, and I think it was the only video on his
video.
YouTube channel. Like, he just made it.
Oh,
for that
really?
reason.
That's
And
interesting.
I don't even know if Planned Parenthood asked him to do it or not.
Right.
I think he just made it.
He
as
was
like,
just, he
right.
just decided to make it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a video promoting Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
So let's play it right now.
Okay.
So you can see it.
It's enough to make a grown man cry. But not this man. Get back in there, Tia.
Okay, so you watched that. 3 points. 1, stop using stupid emotional arguments to take away people's money. Okay? Healthcare is not a right or a privilege, it's a service. This is just what we talked about in the last, our last episode, right? You don't have the right to another person's property, and even if you get sick, you can't take their money away from them, the money they worked for and they earned, to go get treatment. You have to pay for it yourself. You have to have a job. And if you absolutely can't, then you have to go to a charity who's willing to give it to you, or to a family member who's willing to give it to you, or something like that. Right. You can't just require that the government takes a bunch of money from someone you don't know to pay for things that you want to have. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't.
Right.
You shouldn't advocate for that. Point number 2, it's quite ironic that this starts out with a black family in it, because Margaret Sanger was a racist. I'm going to pull up a quote here.
No, wait, who's Margaret Sanger?
Margaret Sanger was the founder of Planned Parenthood.
Wait, and she was racist?
Yeah.
Well, that's surprising.
She founded Planned Parenthood, I think in the 20s, specifically to get rid of non-white people.
Right.
Specifically to kill them off.
Right.
This quote from her says, "Slavs, Latins, and Hebrew immigrants are human weeds, a deadweight of human waste. Blacks, soldiers, and Jews are a menace to the race."
And
Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood, 1922.
The same people who will go and say that's not racist for these super strong reasons will go back and say white people making burritos so racist. I can't even stand it.
Planned Parenthood is fine.
She just said she wanted to kill him. It's fine.
White people making burritos, that's
way worse than that.
That's super racist.
Man.
Right. If you have a school named after a war hero who hated slavery but just happened to fight for the South during the Civil War, you got to rename that.
Racist.
Right? If you have monuments built to people like that, you got to tear them down.
Got to tear them down. Spray paint them.
But if you have an organization that systematically kills off black people and was founded to do it,
because they're black,
founded to do it,
right,
and still keeps doing it today,
that's fun.
That's okay.
Let's help them out.
Exactly.
That's good stuff.
Let's just keep taking money from people who work
bad,
hard
you're
and give it to them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man.
And my third point is, yeah, abortion is killing a human being.
Right.
So, I don't know, don't let some silly little kid get in the way of you going to college, right?
Right.
If you get a scholarship and you have a kid to take care of, what are you supposed to do? Obviously, you should just kill it.
Yeah, that just makes sense.
That just makes a lot of sense. If you need to go to work and there's like a duck in the road or something, and you run it over, you're some terrible evil person. Because why would you ever do that? You have to build a tunnel for the tortoises or something like that? I don't know, some stupid thing like that.
Yeah, they had to get through.
Gotta have those kinds of things. But if it's a human being and it's keeping you from going to college, keeping you from pursuing your dreams, if you make a kid, you have to take care of it. You can't just kill it to do things you want.
Yep.
So that's what I had to say about that video. Let's go to a break.
We'll be back.
So are we going right now?
Yeah.
Is that what that means?
Yeah. As soon as Colin goes.
So Colin's messing around with things. He doesn't have his ear things on.
Colin, put your ear things on.
Is it recording audio?
Yes.
Okay, good.
We're good.
All right. So we're back.
We are back.
We're back. And we're going to talk about President Trump.
Okay. He's a pretty smart dude.
So here's the thing. We put together this show map a while ago. So this isn't necessarily new news anymore.
Yeah.
And there are new things, big news stories that we'll probably cover later.
Yeah.
That happened recently.
Yep.
Way before this episode comes out. That's okay. We're getting to it when we get to it.
Yep. Hopefully, as we continue to do more, we'll get
exactly.
Into a rhythm
We're gonna hopefully get into a rhythm and try to hit more current things.
As well as hopefully you've noticed
them.
that our second camera is a little more clear, and we hope to improve on things like that as we go along.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Yep. It's only gonna get better from here, Carson.
Yeah, that was your first joke that I failed. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Okay, so this is an article from the Washington Post.
Okay.
From May 15th.
Okay.
Trump revealed highly classified information to Russian foreign ministers and ambassadors. President Trump revealed highly classified information to to the Russian foreign minister and ambassador in the White House meeting last week, according to current and former U.S. officials who said Trump's disclosure jeopardizes critical sources of intelligence on the Islamic State. The information that the president relayed had been provided by a U.S. partner through an intelligence sharing arrangement considered so sensitive that the details had been withheld from allies, tightly restricted even within the U.S. government, officials said. The partner had not given the United States permission to share the material with Russia, and the officials said Trump's decision to do so endangers cooperation from an ally that has access to inner workings of the Islamic State. After Trump's meeting, senior White House officials took steps to contain the damage, placing calls to the CIA and National Security Agency. This is code word information, said the U.S. official, familiar with the matter, using terminology that refers to one of the highest classification levels used by the American spy agency. Trump revealed more information to the Russian ambassador than we have shared with our own allies. Are we not allies with Russia?
I don't know.
So basically, this was a big scandal.
Mm-hmm.
He had this meeting with the Russians. He revealed information to them apparently that he wasn't supposed to. Everyone's freaking out and saying that we should impeach him.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
What was the information? I guess they probably won't tell you.
So it was information pertaining to the Islamic State and laptops on airplanes.
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this whole Trump is a Russian agent thing has been going on since before the election.
Yeah.
And so far, there's been a few key pieces of evidence that kind of point to him being a Russian spy.
Okay.
Just kidding. There's not. There's been absolutely no evidence put forward at all that Trump is in any way tied back to the Russians. But that's all we ever talk about on the news.
Mm.
And it's really frustrating.
Yeah. You think there's better things to talk about?
I think maybe there's better things to talk about, but that's all they ever want to talk about.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, it was a meeting with the Russian foreign minister. He shared information about ISIS and laptops on flights. Apparently this information was classified, or at least very sensitive. A Middle Eastern ally gave this information. Many say that was probably Israel, that ally, right?
Okay.
The U.S. government was not given permission to share this information, which apparently they needed.
Wait. The U.S. government was not given permission to share the information?
From the people they got it from.
Gotcha, okay.
Supposedly. That's
Okay.
what we understand.
Okay.
We have no idea what the information is.
Right.
We have no idea how this information affects national security.
Right.
Or if it even will.
Right.
But apparently we have to impeach him.
Apparently we do.
Right.
'Cause
Now,
something might go wrong.
if say there were some lady who was presented with a national security crisis and she handled it so poorly that a bunch of people died in Benghazi,
Yeah, good thing
it's
that
not that
never
big of a
happened.
deal.
That-
We
that
should
would
just
be
elect
bad.
her president. That's
Yeah.
fine. But if Donald Trump supposedly shares information that we don't even know what it is, they could potentially harm national security.
Yeah.
Gotta
Impeach him
Gotta
immediately.
impeach him immediately.
That's just, it's such a double standard, which is so terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not that I really buy into the whole, well, he's new at this, give him a chance. Because
No.
he is the president of the United States
Right.
and he needs to have it figured out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you should call him out when he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a double standard.
Yeah.
And you don't know that he's wrong yet.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
There just doesn't seem to be enough information available
exactly.
to impeach him or not.
See if I can't find this thing here. On the 15th,
May 15th?
yeah, May 15th,
Okay.
Trump's National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster's, he talked to the press, and he said this. We're going to play that clip for you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I just have a brief statement for the record. There's nothing that the president takes more seriously than the security of the American people. The story that came out tonight, as reported, is false. The president and the foreign minister reviewed a range of common threats to our two countries, including threats to civil aviation. At no time were intelligence sources or methods discussed. And the president did not disclose any military operations that were not already publicly known. Two other senior officials who were present, including the Secretary of State, remember the meeting the same way and have said so. Their on-the-record accounts should outweigh those of anonymous sources. And I was in the room. It didn't happen. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
What I find just so crazy in today's news is, okay, I trust that guy, but should I trust that guy? And then you have another thing that says like the complete opposite. How do you know if he's telling the truth or not?
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what you have is Trump's national security advisor, who was apparently in the room,
Mm-hmm.
said that the sources were never discussed and the specific information they're talking about that was leaked was never discussed.
Right.
Right? And then Donald Trump went on Twitter.
Ooh.
And he wrote, as president, I wanted to share with Russia at an openly scheduled White House meeting, which I have the absolute right to do, facts pertaining to, and then 2 tweets because you can only type so much. Facts pertaining to terrorism and airline flight safety, humanitarian reasons, plus I want Russia to greatly step up their fight against ISIS and terrorism. So that's on the 16th. On the 15th, Trump sends out his national security advisor to say, no, we didn't talk about all these things.
Right.
And the next day, he says, I talked about these things.
I did that. Yep.
I did that.
So he was lying. The security dude.
I guess.
He was
I don't
completely
know.
Straight up lying.
That or Trump is.
Right. It's so.
I don't know.
It's so
I don't
hard
know.
to tell. Like
Yeah.
you can't trust any politician ever.
Right.
That's
exactly.
just what you learn from that.
Yeah.
Right.
The inconsistency is what frustrates me so much, though.
Yeah.
You know, they take orders from Trump, right? So he did have them go out there and say that,
Right. Exactly.
right? Because it's his advisor.
Yeah. They're not doing that.
No, we didn't talk
because-
about those things that the Washington Post says we talked about. And then he's like, we did talk about
Oh, no,
these
we
things.
did that, yeah.
We talked about these things. So just, like, at least pick one.
Right.
At least pick a story to go with.
Exactly.
Yeah, we still don't know for sure what happened, but he shared information.
Right.
Now, to pull this whole thing back, the only reason we know that he actually shared any kind of information that was classified is because of Washington Post's anonymous sources.
So that doesn't seem like super good.
So who are they?
Right.
I don't
Anonymous
know.
Sources.
I don't know.
I mean, just looking at it, you can trust anonymous sources or actual people.
Yeah.
So.
But then the actual people say 2 different things.
True. Yep. And then that's always a problem.
So that, yeah, I don't know.
It's definitely a hard thing to pick sides on, I would say.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of been his presidency so far.
Yeah, I would
know,
say that.
Yeah, I voted for him. I did.
Why would you
I don't really
choose-
regret it, honestly,
You sure?
because
I would
my
regret it.
options were vote for someone who would be much worse,
What about Daryl
In
Castle?
so many
dude?
ways.
He was on the ballot.
vote for someone who won't win.
You could have voted for Daryl Castle.
I could have voted for Daryl Castle.
He called out all the Christians and said, "Look, take faith,
Yeah.
take that step."
How'd
You
that
didn't
work
do that.
for him?
Well, you didn't do it.
I
That's
didn't do
why
it.
he failed.
Did other Christians do it?
Yes, not enough, but if you would have, there would have been probably enough.
Oh.
So yeah.
Is that really how that works?
I think so. Yeah, I think
No, I don't quite buy that argument. Sorry.
so. Okay.
Yeah, didn't vote for Daryl Castle.
Didn't?
Didn't vote for Gary Johnson for other obvious reasons.
Yeah. Well,
Voted for Donald Trump. So far, he's done 2 pretty good things. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm not going to really get into, but that happened 2 days ago, I think.
Yep.
And he put Neil Gorsuch on the bench.
Yes, that
which
was
is
good.
Which is really awesome.
Yes, that was good.
But he also bombed Syria.
Yep.
Spent $100 million, I think $100 million, to attack an airfield that could still be used the next day.
Well, that's kind of sad. That
He
was
hasn't done
bad
anything
planning.
about Obamacare yet.
And even when he does something, it's not going to be much better, which is
Exactly. We talked about that last time.
right.
Yeah, the Obamacare replacement plan,
Yep.
which he didn't even have that much to do with, I don't believe. I think that was more Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to keep an eye on him, see how he's doing, call him out when he does stuff wrong, and
Yeah.
praise him when he does stuff right, and laugh at him when he does some silly things.
Exactly. Just like any
Or laugh
politician.
with him when he makes fun of people. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's that. How about we take a break, and
Okay.
then we're going to come back and have a discussion about democracy.
Sounds good.
So, yeah. We want to talk a little bit about democracy.
Okay.
Just because we can, because we feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, democracy is something you hear a lot when people talk about American government and how the American government operates, and that we're a democracy. Or when we go to other countries and have wars and things, we talk about how we're spreading democracy and all kinds of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is democracy? Merriam-Webster Dictionary says, a government by the people, especially rule of the majority. A government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised by them directly or indirectly through a system of representation, usually involving periodically held free elections. A political unit that has a democratic government. Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, democracy is a form of government where the people are in charge.
Yep.
Form of government where the majority rules. Form of government where laws are decided by what the majority of the citizens believe to be right and to be true.
Right.
Compare that to a republic form of government, right? A republic. A republic is a government having a chief of state who is not a monarch, or who in modern times is usually a president, a political unit such as a nation having such a form of government. A government in which supreme power resides in a body of citizens entitled to vote and is exercised by the elected officials and representatives responsible to them and governing according to law. A political unit such as a nation having such a form of government, usually specified republican government or a political unit. So a republic is very similar to a democracy in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But the primary difference between the two is a republic is founded on a set idea of laws, of what law is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because right here it says a government in which the power resides in a body of citizens entitled to vote and who is exercised by elected officers and representatives responsible to them and governing according to law. So those elected officers are responsible to the citizens but governing according to law.
Right.
As opposed to democracy, where the elected officials govern according to rule of the majority.
Right.
Right? So in democracy, laws are decided by the rule of majority.
Mm-hmm.
Under a republic, it operates off of pre-assumed laws
Right.
that the citizens then vote. A specific group of actual citizens get to vote on who is going to carry out that law and then how they're going to carry out that law,
Exactly.
right, depending on who it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So is America really a democracy? Is the question.
Right. Are we saying is America really a democracy as in today, or what it
Well-
was established to be?
So, Declaration of Independence. Let's just read that. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. So right there, in the first sentence, you see people who wrote the Declaration of Independence talking about laws.
Mm-hmm.
Laws of nature and of nature's God.
Right.
Laws that exist, laws that are inalienable,
Mm-hmm.
or laws that are not inalienable, laws that are obvious to people,
Right.
right? That you can see, that you can understand, that
Mhm.
are consistent,
Right.
right? A decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that we should declare the causes for which impel them to separate. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So they say right off the bat, there are truths that we hold self-evident, and governments are instituted among men to protect them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And then you read the Constitution, and it's first a very specific set of rules for how the government's to operate, and then it is a very specific set of rights that they are to protect,
Exactly.
right?
No matter how many people say that you shouldn't be allowed to have a gun, in America, that can't be changed.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Or in a republic, like we have, or like this country was founded on, as Benjamin Franklin put it, a republic if you can keep it.
Right.
There are laws, and the government is elected to protect those laws, to enforce those laws, right?
Right.
those laws specifically in our government were recognized by our founders to be people's rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which they should have wrote as property. But there was a whole debate on whether or not if you write property, then people are just going to assume that that means slavery, because slaves were considered at the time to be property. So that's why Thomas Jefferson put pursuit of happiness in there instead of property. But some people disagreed because obviously slaves aren't property; they're human beings, and they have rights too.
Right.
But anyway, if they would have just wrote property, that would have been a little bit more clear and better for us to understand, because that's what they're getting at.
Yeah.
Your pursuit of happiness.
Right.
Which is.
I think it's hard to have a pursuit of
It's
happiness.
redundant. If you just say the pursuit of happiness means pursuing things that make you happy, then it's redundant with liberty.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's got to mean something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're getting at, because they're quoting almost directly from John Locke, who coined the term life, liberty, and property.
Gotcha.
Right. So governments are set up, or governments ought to be set up, to protect people's rights to life, liberty, and property.
Mm-hmm.
The United States was a republic, a constitutional republic, founded in the idea that the people would elect the citizens to operate the government, to run the government, to protect the law. Excuse me, that's that burrito. That white man burrito.
That white man burrito.
To protect the law and to enforce the law that protects people's rights to life, liberty, and property. And then, more specifically, they had civil rights, enumerated rights in the Constitution that the government was to protect, and specifically not infringe upon.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So basically, democracy isn't good, because it isn't that.
Right.
There are some aspects of a republic and some aspects of our constitutional republic that are democratic.
Mm-hmm.
But straight up democracy, just foolproof democracy, is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because people do have rights to life, liberty, and property. And it doesn't matter what the majority want.
Right. A majority of the Nazis wanted what Hitler thought was good.
Right.
Because they were,
Democratically
misguided.
elected.
They became misled by their leader.
No, you're right.
He was able to get everyone to agree on it, and so then it happened.
Exactly. Just because a certain amount of people think it's the right thing to do
Doesn't make it
doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's why us as first Christians, then as people who believe in conservative principles and libertarian principles, can actually have consistent sets of ideas and consistent beliefs, because we hold to absolute morality. We know some things are true and some things are false. Some things are right and some things are wrong. Mm-hmm. And that is the inherent foundation of a republic.
Right.
Of a republic form of government. These laws exist, these laws are inalienable, these rights are inalienable, and the government exists to protect them.
Right.
But democracy is what the people want
At
is
that
what the
time.
law will be.
Right.
Right?
That's a really slippery slope.
Exactly. So just because everybody thinks it's the way to go, doesn't mean it's the way to go.
Right.
Our country was founded on the principles of life, liberty, and property, and being a republic form of government, not a democracy.
Yep.
Right?
I think that's something that we definitely are seeing stripped away, just with people's view of what America is. I think if you went and asked people, what America was, or they would say it's a democracy, and they would probably say it's a good thing because they just don't know any better.
Right.
So
exactly.
then when a leader comes up and says we need to have a democracy because everyone agrees with it, they're all going to get on board, and it's really dangerous.
Right. Exactly. People will just assume, well, democracy is better than a dictatorship, right?
Right. Exactly.
Well, probably. Why is a dictatorship bad? A dictatorship is bad because a dictator is a human being who is a sinful person and who is quite likely to pursue his own self-interests at the sake or at the expense of everyone else's rights.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the difference between full-on democracy and a dictatorship?
A full-on democracy, I guess, just has
a
lot of dictators, a lot of little dictators.
Exactly. You take that power out of the hand of one person and you put it in the hand of a bunch of people.
Right.
They're still going to be like people. They're still going to pursue their own self-interests.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you just hand over power over other people's lives to people, of course they're going to use it. Of course they're going to do things like empower the government to collect taxes from people who make money and give it to people who don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's easier for people who don't.
Exactly.
Right? Of course they're going to do things like that. Whereas in a republic, you don't have that power.
Mm-hmm.
You have the authority as the citizens to elect who you're going to have run the government, but they have to run it a certain way.
Exactly.
They have to run it according to the law of the land, which in this country is the Constitution of the United States and the rights that it protects.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Good.
say one thing before we go. If we look at Conlon right now, I don't know what he is doing, but Conlon has taped all of his fingers together.
What?
And he's just sitting there.
Well, I mean,
What?
that's
I don't even know what he's doing.
that's probably what a lot of people are doing while they're watching this anyway, because what we just did was super boring and nobody cares. So they're like, I'm gonna take my fingers together.
It's really.
That'll be way more
Come
entertaining.
on, it's so, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really important stuff.
It is important stuff, but I mean that ties right back into the conversation we're having. Just because it's important stuff doesn't mean people care.
Yep, that is true. That is
Right?
a sad truth.
Exactly. And that's why democracy sucks.
Yep.
That's why democracy is the enemy of liberty. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about all we got for today, right?
Yep.
We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we're going to be back with a review of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, because we're going to go see that tonight.
Yeah, Chase is
So,
super excited.
Just cannot wait. I liked the first one better the second time I saw it. First time I saw it, I hated it.
Okay.
And
Well,
then I saw it again.
I think
and
you
was
fell
like,
asleep,
"That's not so
so-
bad." I did fall
and-
asleep. Well,
so-
I fell asleep because I hated it.
that's no.
It was
Okay.
so boring, it put me to sleep.
That makes sense.
Right? Some people fall asleep when they get bored, and some people put taper on their fingers when they get bored.
Conlon,
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. Goodbye.
See ya.
If you like our content, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. I literally just did that.
Woo!
I said, though.
Stop. Listen, it is so easy. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
That's what I did.
Watch our other videos.
That's what I did.
That was horrible. Do better.